Hi, everyone. We are at week 11 of 12 weeks. Next to last week. It's pretty exciting. I will be grading your proposals that you turned in on Sunday. I'll have those done by Thursday, I believe. Friday at the very latest, but probably by Thursday. I have another, anyway, so another class that I've got to grade for this week. But anyway, you should have those done. And now we're going to start on the social media project, which will be for these last 2 weeks. This will be, the assignments are going to be a little less intensive and maybe a little easier. So that'll be good to kind of wind up the end of this, this semester. Okay, so let's then go ahead and share my screen with you. Okay, so we're here at week 11. Last week, you guys turned in the budget pieces, those 2 budget pieces that had to do with the food truck. You did a review of your proposal project and then you turned it in. It was awesome. So this week and next week, we're doing the social media project. Excuse me. This week, you've got 3 assignments due: social media identity, social media free write, and hiring in social media. So I'm going to talk about all 3 of these. I'm going to talk about all 3 of these assignments in this little video. So the first one is the social media identity assignment. So just kind of think just a minute about what social media you use, and don't forget about YouTube, because YouTube is very much in that sense of social media, of sharing, of putting yourself out there, and also interacting with comments. So think about how you use social media. Some people use it for personal reasons. Some people use it for business reasons. There are a lot of ways to use social media. And then how do you think others use it? When you see others use social media, how are they using it? So just kind of think about that. So it says that 7 in 10 adults report they use some kind of social media. Seems like it'd probably be more than that. That was a couple of years ago. So I don't know, it could be more or it could be less. People could be just like, oh, I'm done with it. What assumptions do you make about people on social media? That's something to kind of think about, because you make assumptions about people on social media, and people make assumptions about you. People make assumptions about me on social media. So think about what those assumptions are and what they're based on. And that's kind of what we're going to be looking at in this, this first lesson here, this first assignment. And how does stereotyping and personal bias relate to these assumptions? What does somebody say or do that stereotypes them? Or what is your bias about certain things that lead you to think something? So kind of consider those things just as we look at this. So this assignment has 2 parts. The first part, I want you to pull up a Word document, and I want you to write down 5 things someone could find out about you by following you on social media. I want you to save it, because when we finish this other piece, you're going to come back to this document. So just write down 5 things people could find out about you by following you on social media, and just kind of post that, or just hang on to that. The next little bit of information is in 2014, 91, oh, sorry, I got to move my little thing here. 91% of Americans agree or strongly agree that people have lost control over how their personal information is collected and used by all kinds of entities. I'm sure every one of us feels like that when we have, like, if I've searched for something on my phone and then it pops up on my browser on my laptop or my personal computer, and I'm like, oh, you know, everything is so connected and I don't even know how they're connected. And that is kind of one of those feelings about losing control of your personal information, or what people know about you and how people can find you, or how retailers can find you. Some 80% of social media users say they were concerned about advertisers and business accessing the data they share on social media platforms. You know, there has been a little more regulation on that in the last couple of years, but still it feels kind of like, as they would say, the wild, wild west, as far as like not a lot of regulation. And last, 64% of the people said that government should do more to regulate advertisers. And that is really something to think about. Is it in our best interest to have that kind of regulation as citizens? Or is it not? And how does that balance with business and their needs? So kind of think about those things. So I see 11.1 social media identity. So this exercise is a little creepy, but I do it for a really strong reason, but just to let you know that it's possibly a little creepy. So hang on one second, and I'm going to go ahead and whoops, I gotta hop out of this really quick. Okay. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and share this with you. Okay. You should be looking at a page that says random name generator on it. And so that's the link that's in the slide. And what this does is it helps you randomly generate a name. So you can I tried generating about 5 names, and you can make these anything you want. I just do it generally, but so here we have 5 names. So you're going to pick one of these names and you're going to look up this person on social media. It's a random name, so you're finding a random person anywhere in the world. Let's take Basil Massey. It's kind of a great name, isn't it? So you're going to do 2 things. You're going to look up this person on social media, so that means Facebook, Instagram, that sort of thing, and you're also going to look them up on Google. So what you're going to do is you're going to type in this person's name, but you're going to put it in quotation marks like this so that it only looks up that name together. That's what the quotation marks do. It's kind of handy. Okay. Lieutenant Colonel Basil Massey, South Carolina, draws on 17 years experience as a CO and a parachute trooper, leading men in the world's toughest environments. Wow. So now we found a bio about this guy, a whole bio. So you can find out quite a bit about him. And he's from India. So there's just kind of so what you do is take this name, find it here on, find this person here through Google, and also find them through your social media. So you're going to look them up in 2 places. So you're going to take, just make sure I got the right screen for you guys. Okay. So you're going to take a name, a random name. You're going to search on Facebook and Instagram, whichever ones you have an account on. If you have accounts on other social media, you can look on those too. And then you're going to search for this person on Google, and you're going to use quotation marks around their name to help make that search a little, to make it more poignant, just to get that name. So as you're reading about this person, think about this. So this guy, we found like a whole bio on him. So we'd be able to find something else. But I mean, we'll find a lot of information, but kind of think about what you found out, what things are most surprising. I think the fact that he's in the Indian Army is pretty surprising. We didn't look too much, but when you do this, you might find some very personal information. You might find some disturbing information. And you might kind of feel a little creepy or wonder about just kind of looking into somebody that you don't know. So kind of examine these feelings as you're doing this. So you're going to put your findings about the person in a 250-word report. You're going to include an image of the person. So you're going to have a small report and then an image of the person. So that's one thing you're going to turn in. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to go back to that first Word document, and I want you to write 3 more things you think people could find out about you if they search for you. When we search for somebody else, we kind of self-reflect, and it's like, oh, somebody could find that out about me. So that's kind of what's happening right here. So you're going to turn in 2 things: a little 250-word report about the person that you looked up and including an image. And the second one is you're going to include this Google Doc with 5 things that someone could find out about you that you start at the beginning of this, and then at the end of this, you get 3 more things that you've realized other people could find out. Okay, so those are the 2 things to turn in for 11.1. The next assignment is 11.2. It's a free write. So what you're going to do for this is you're going to open a Word document, and I want you to set a timer on your phone for 10 minutes and free write, kind of answering these sort of questions down here. You don't have to answer each one of them, but you let them prompt you to think about different things. After the social media assignment, what do you think about your own postings? What we find out when we do this assignment is we find out kind of how we interpret what other people have posted and what we think about their character. It's kind of an interesting thing. So think about your own things. Are there things an employer could find out about you that would hurt your chances of employment? That is really the basis of what we're looking at here, is finding out, having you kind of consider the ideas of if an employer was looking up your social media, what would they think? And then how do you balance the need to connect with your friends and the desire to have your information remain private? So that's a pretty, can be a tough balance sometimes. And do you ever friend people that aren't actually your friends? And do you ever friend people from work? And could that ever be an issue? So might think about all these things and just set a timer for 10 minutes and just do a free write. That's 11.2. So that's the second assignment. Third assignment is 11.3. This is about hiring and social media. So let me give you a little information kind of before you start out. So nearly half of businesses around the world say that misuse of social media is an issue they have to deal with. 42% of corporations admitted they'd taken disciplinary action against employees regarding misuse of social networks. That is probably higher now. 8% of companies reported actually dismissing someone for their behavior on sites like Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn, for those of you who don't know, is a social networking site for people in business. So people looking for jobs and employers. So LinkedIn is a great place to find a job. So if you do not have a LinkedIn profile, I would really suggest that you do that. It's meant to be very professional. So you would put up a professional bio, kind of like the one we worked on at the beginning of this term. Put a professional picture. It's not so much about chatting as it is making professional connections. So you really might consider, if you're job hunting, consider getting a LinkedIn profile. And so, but you know, what you do on social media can affect your employer. There are people that have been fired for things that they've said on social media, and those have been very widely spread. I'm sure you all have heard of a number of stories like this. So it's something to really consider, where that line is between our private lives and our public work life. So 35% of workers say that where they work doesn't let them use Facebook or Twitter, and 20% won't let them use LinkedIn at work. And so that's a good thing to think about too, is what is the social media policy where you work, and what can and can't you do, and how does that connect with what you do at work? Some people need to be, some people are social media managers, and so that is what they do for their work. And so they're, of course, on there representing the company. So more and more employers are taking steps to review Facebook and other media profiles of candidates. 85% of employers indicate that they are less likely to hire candidates whose social networking profile or tweets evidence unprofessional behavior. So, you know, this is, I think this is a very interesting kind of sort of very, 21st century issue. So if I posted on my Facebook page that kids between 18 and 22 are not as smart as they used to be, and almost impossible to teach. So just remember, I don't believe that. That is not something I believe. But if I posted that, how would that reflect on my employment at CNM? How would one of my students feel if they looked at that? So what we say reflects on on our employment and what we do, and reflects on our employer. I mean, why would C&M hire a teacher that believed people were unteachable? So, you know, kind of seeing how these things overlap is a really important thing to be able to do. So, and then thinking about what does unprofessional behavior look like? So we're going to talk about that more actually next week, but kind of begin thinking about that. There is a company called Social Intelligence that runs background checks for prospective employers, and they can look up 7 years of social media history. That's a long time. Like if you're 24, that would be things you posted when you were 17. So it's something to really consider. Is what does that history look like, and what does that mean when people look at that for employment? On the other hand, if you are in a position of hiring somebody and you don't look at somebody's social media and you find out that they that their social media feed is just full of pictures of them drinking or doing something even illegal like giving alcohol to people underage or something like that, how would you feel if you were in the hiring committee for this person and you didn't look at this and then there's a problem at work? So, you know, it's a very complicated issue. So 3 ways companies are analyzing social media to make hiring decisions. 47% of prospective employees said that if they couldn't find a job candidate online, they were less likely to interview them, which means that if you don't exist online, people might not interview you because they don't even know, you don't have a history to look at. 30% of American adults who don't have an online presence, this could be an issue when they're job hunting. So thinking about that it's like not having a presence online is also suspicious. Like, what does that mean? Where's this person been? Why don't they have any pictures of their family, you know? Sometimes the companies will confirm the candidate's qualifications online. So they can look to see if you live where you say you've lived, if you've done the kind of work you think you said you've done, that kind of thing. So they can see what you've done during certain years and see if that matches up with your resume. So the last thing is that companies have been looking to make sure that the candidate looks professional. So that's a big piece there. Do they behave professionally even when they are not at work? When they're posting on social media, does it look professional? So do they have a profile picture of themselves with a can of beer? Nothing wrong with a can of beer, but still, if you know you're over 21, but still, is that what they want to see? So anyway, if you're in the brewing classes, they might want to see that. You kind of have to look at all the context. So recruiting via social media is growing. 85% of organizations use it, and this was in 2012, I think, 2013. So more people are doing that. LinkedIn is one of the places that people recruit on social media a lot. My husband gets headhunted on LinkedIn quite frequently because he's got a lot of coding, computer type skills. So I do too every now and then for editing, actually. 73% of millennials found their last position through a social media platform. So something to consider. So there are a lot of pieces. If you as the hiring manager make hiring decisions based on what you found on social media, that could be against the law in some ways. Especially if you make a decision based on somebody's gender or somebody's religion or things like that, or if they're pregnant. So I kind of looked down this is all about thinking about your unconscious biases and trying to kind of know in yourself where these are. and then recognizing them and not letting them get in the way of making a solid hiring decision. Because at some point, almost all of you are going to be in position to hire somebody else, or are going to be on a committee and you have a voice on it, and you want to make sure that you are, have some clarity around this. Okay. So the last thing you're going to do is on hiring and social media. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to search for studies on social media, especially about hiring practices. And I want you to find, I'm going to move me over here. I want you to find the original study, not just a citation from an article. So I do have some studies in the social media resource folder if you are not able to find any. I want you to find at least 5 things that are said to get someone fired or not hired regarding social media. And then I want you to put your findings in a short PowerPoint presentation. So your audience for this presentation would be other people in the class. And you want to just kind of give the, give them like a little, like, here's some tips. These are things to do. These are things to not do. You're going to need the requirements. You have to cite at least 1 study and 2 sources. So you need to have at least 3 sources altogether. You need to have at least 10 slides, and each slide must have an image. And just put your citations in the presenter notes at the bottom. So you're going to you're going to give other people in the class advice about what they should do to help their social media so that they could get hired, and what they shouldn't put on social media so that would get them either fired or keep them from getting a job. So that's what we're looking at, just regarding social media and job hiring. Okay, so that does, email me if that doesn't make sense, but that's where we're going with this. And email me if you have any questions. So those are the 3 things to do for this week. Next week, oh my gosh, U12, the last week, you only have 2 pieces. It's managing social media, and then you submit your social media project. So next week, we'll talk about the managing social media piece, but let me give you a little heads up on the social media project. It's pretty short, especially compared to the other things that you've done. I want you to view your Facebook or Instagram account from someone else's account who's not your friend or a follower. So you'd be viewing it from a third party. And if you don't have Facebook or Instagram, go ahead and email me, and I'll help you kind of work through what to do with that. And then I want you to write a 400-word reflection. I want this to be grammatically correct. That's going to be part of your grade, and it does count for 15% of your grade. But I want you to kind of assess what a potential employer might conclude about you when they look at your Instagram or your Facebook. You're going to be looking at it through somebody else's eyes. It's not your friend or follower. So what do they think when they see this? What would you need to do to scrub your account? So that means, like, what would you need to do to what would you need to take off of your account? What would you need to like delete? So that's what scrub means. What would you need to delete from your account to make it look better? And then I want you to discuss your feelings about this. I mean, I myself am really torn about having what I put up personally reflect on what I do professionally. I don't know. It's a hard line to figure out. And so you might just, begin thinking about that and begin thinking about how you feel about that. You can cite sources on this, or you can not, whichever one you want to do. But if you do cite sources, please use APA. And so this needs to be uploaded before the 9th of August, before midnight. Okay, so that's it. You've got 3 things to turn in this week, and then next week 2 things, and then that's the end of the term. Remember that if you have any revisions, those also need to be turned in by the 9th at the very latest. And I'll be grading your proposals this week, and then probably on Friday or Saturday, I'll grade revisions and everything else. And so I'll just try to keep up so that you'll have a really good idea of what your final grade is. And if you have questions about your grades, please email me so that I can help you out. If you have questions about the assignments, please email me, and I'm happy to Zoom with you or whatever you'd like. So, Okay, have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week.